Welcome to this series of video about the Cosmo company and the products that we propose, that we develop, and that we sell. My name is Michel Morvan. I am one of the co-founders of the company. Cosmo stands for Complex Systems Modeling. We are a software editor. We are creating software to model and simulate complex systems. I used to be a professor, university professor, during 20 years. I was a specialist of math, of computer science, but more than that, I was a specialist of complex systems. Complex systems have been my life during the last 20 years. I'm very excited about this domain, and I've worked very hard to provide what we are now creating and developing in Cosmo. So let's go back to complex system. What a complex system is. Let me try to explain that in a, if possible, simple way, asking a very simple question. Look at my hand. Do you know why my hand has this shape? Where does the shape of my hand come from? How is it that my hand is very close to your hand, while, unless I'm wrong, we don't have anything in common? How is it possible that in the next 10 years, my hand is going to stay that way? How can we understand the morphogenesis, the way the shape is created in living systems? If you start to think about this question, you realize that it's not so easy to understand it. Why is it not so easy? Well, because if you want to understand the shape of the hand, you have to understand the genes. You know that in every cell there are genes, and these genes can have an impact on the shape of the cells that are in my hands. But I don't have only one cell. I have multiple cells, and one cell can have interaction with the cell that is close to it. And I don't have only two cells. I have many cells that form a tissue. But I don't have only one tissue in my hand. I have a lot of different tissues. And the shape is something that comes from, we say that emerges from all the interactions of all these systems. The genes, the cells, the network of cells, the tissues. And it's absolutely impossible to understand the shape of the hand if we just look at one of these systems. That's what we call a complex system, made of different systems, interacting, different type of scales, big mess. So this is a complex system. Let me give you another example. If you consider a city, very different from my hand, if you think. Not so much. Assume that you look at a city, you want to understand what will be the impact of a new metro line in the city. Well, you can say, I'm going to look at the metro, at the transportation system. But that's not the only thing you have to look at. You also have to look at the buildings, the real estate price, because when you have a metro line, it can increase the real estate price. But then it can attract new kind of people having more money, and maybe they have two cars rather than one car. And so this can have an impact also on the transportation system. And you can have a lot of questions about energy, and at the end of the day, all the city can shape in a different way just because of one metro line. And this is also very complex. You can see there are different systems, they're interacting, and the behavior of that is very hard to predict. That's another complex system. The third one, consider an epidemic. You have people infected by a virus, and these people, they can touch each other, speak to each other, take the bus together, take the train together, go to work, be in meetings, and during all that, the viruses can go from one person to another. How can you stop that? Well, you have to understand a very complex system. So this is also a complex system. If you start to think about it, you realize that complex systems are absolutely everywhere, and that it's a big challenge to be able to understand them, to control them. And so if you want to do so, and that's our business at Cosmo, if you want to do so, what you need, the first thing, is to be able to represent the system. And what is very hard is that this representation has to deal with a lot of different systems, a lot of different things, and it's very hard to do this representation. Well, this representation is what we call a model. This is a very important step when you want to work, and in our case, to create software to deal with these complex systems. And these models are something very important that we are going to talk about in the next video. Stay tuned.